I'm going to try as much as possible to capture your attentions because I'm about to say something really life-changing for maintenance planners. Now, I wouldn't really know the particular days that you run your backlogs. I think for some organizations, you could run these backlogs every Wednesdays or Thursdays or Fridays, just to really know which work orders have been backlogged from the previous weeks. Now, this can be very, very overwhelming. Why? Because using the old feature, we have to run an order list, meaning that you use the change order list. So your change order list would include your PM03s, your PM01s, PM02s that have their basic start and basic finish dates. Now, this is where the struggle is. For you to be able to analyze these backlogs, you would always have to export it to Excel.
No.
And in exporting to Excel, you need to make sure that you've set the fields that you want to see so that you can know which of these orders have backlogs, meaning that which of these work orders have scheduled start dates that have been passed, right? And you would also know that tracking those work orders that have spare parts attached to them could be a bit difficult because when you run your order lists, depending on the kind of fields that you have selected that you want to see, you might be able to include the purchase requisition field, which you would see when you export to your Excel. But knowing the state at which that purchase requisition is for each of these backlogged work orders will be almost impossible unless you take that work order number and put it back into the system, run the order display again, and then try to navigate to the purchase requisition page. But with the new feature, it has made everything very easy. Now, I want to take you through this little journey. Imagine that you have a type of feature or an application where you necessarily do not need to move these work orders from the SAP system to Excel. And just by a glance, you can be able to see at what stage your materials are without needing to navigate to the purchase requisition page. Now we have a wonderful application called the Planning Buckets. With your planning buckets, you can be able to collate all of these work orders and not just being able to track these backlogs, right? You can still be able to know the status at which each of these orders are on the purchase requisition. Either these materials are already delivered or if they've not been delivered yet. Rather than exporting this to Excel, which obviously you would only be able to see the purchase requisition number, you can be able to, at a glance, see these work orders that have been backlogged and as well see materials that have been attached to work orders and the state at which they are. So I'm going to actually give a brief scenario, or I don't think I should use the word scenario. I'm going to try to explain what this planning bucket is with a little bit of illustration for you to understand. And with a glance, you can be able to make decisions. So even if a work order is backlogged, you can still see those work orders that materials are currently attached to and how you can better track these materials before you close up your work orders. So let's see. Now, this is a glance of what it looks like on the SAP screen. When we use the word backlogs, we're talking about both unhealthy and the healthy backlogs. And for here, you can see that we have a screen that shows us how it is. Now, when we create this planning bucket, what we are doing is that we create a container of work orders. So we create a container and then decide the type of work orders that we want to see inside of these containers. So with this maintenance planning bucket, you can be able to create it. You can specialize it to make it very specific to either of the technical objects, or you could make it a general planning bucket, meaning that all of the work orders that you're going to be creating within a time frame will be saved
in that particular bucket. So here you can select the timing, the start and the end time that you would want this planning bucket to be. So for here, you can see that the user wants this planning bucket to be active for 7 days. And of course, you can make it more than 7 days. But personally, I love 7 days because it should be open for like 1 week for me to be able to track my maintenance backlogs. Now, basically, if you have these buckets, you can be able to divide your efforts. So all of the maintenance efforts that you would need, you can divide it into small groups so that you can easily manage it. Now, the type of buckets that you can create depends on the type of maintenance. So if you want to create a bucket for your operational maintenance, meaning the everyday maintenance that you do, you can create the bucket. So the operational maintenance planning bucket would contain orders like for your breakdowns, ones you raise for breakdowns, ones you raise for preventive maintenances, the ones you raise for scheduled maintenances, they will all be located inside of this operational maintenance bucket. But then if you create a bucket and you want it to be event-based, maybe your organization is planning some sort of a shutdown, or you have like a major overhaul of a particular equipment, you can be able to use this event-based maintenance. So you can see that even when you want to plan for your shutdown, you would have a bucket that would include those orders that you have raised during that period. So it makes everything very easy to manage. Then we have the next page here. Another wonderful thing that I personally love about this planning bucket is the fact that you can even be able to see the past buckets that you have created, and you can filter the buckets. What do I mean by filtering the bucket? The work orders that are inside that bucket, you can be able to filter those work orders based on the phases that those work orders are at currently, or you could filter it to see the past buckets that you had already created, or future buckets. Now, this is basically how it looks like. Maybe we have selected a particular feature, and then what we have here, we can see that it can be able to give you an overview of your maintenance backlogs. It can tell you the total maintenance orders. So with this example, you can see that at so and so date, we had a maximum of 25 work orders that had been raised within the time frame that you had selected when you're creating the planning buckets. And in a total, we have 55 maintenance work orders that had been raised from 24th of whatever date 2021 to 27th of whatever month 2021. And you can also see that we also have like a brief overview of the services and components that are related to those work orders, which are indicated in color codes. Now for the blue, these will just show you the created purchase requisitions, the orange, the released purchase requisitions. So for this particular date, we can see that the work orders that had been created, the ones that have the purchase requisition released, we have this certain amount. So it's more like gives you an analytical view as to how your maintenance orders are, how they are doing, which of them are backlogs, which of them are still active, which of them have been done, which of them have materials that have been imputed on them. And also, in your normal order lists, when you export those order lists, right, you can be able to export them by selecting the type of fields you want to see. I think it's called variant. You could set a variant for yourself. So if you set a variant that you want to see the order numbers, schedule start, schedule finish, maybe if there are purchase requisitions or purchase orders that are in that work order, you can do that, and you can only see that when you have exported to Excel. You can then analyze. But with this, the filter, you can filter based on the phases, which is obviously the 9 phase. So You can filter based on the phase that maintenance order is in. You can also filter based on the maintenance order type, by the priority, or by the maintenance activity type. And the system allows you to also track the procurement milestone, just like what I said in the intro video. If you have a particular material that you have added to that work order, you can be able to see that just by a glance. Now, if you take a look at this, though I was able to get a snip from the web, which is why it's a bit clustered, but here you can see that we have the order, the stock component, non-stock components. Now, if I tick on this particular order here and I select the stock components, if there are materials that have been attached to this work order, it can give me the milestone at which that material is. So you can also view these particular orders, your backlogs, based on cards. Now, personally, I think I prefer these cards even more, but if I want to know the status of my material, I would have to navigate to these stock components that will give me the status of each of that material. So whether the material is in procurement, if it has already arrived, you can see that here. But I don't have that snip over here, but it basically looks like this, right? If you have a stock component, you can see the status, and each of these status, when you put your cursor on each of these status, it gives you a meaning as to what each of those colors are. So when you see the green color and you put your cursor there, it tells you that, oh, a purchase requisition was created for this, and a purchase order was also released for that particular work order. Now, basically, you can know all of this even before deciding to want to close up that work order if you have those backlogs. And like I was saying, another amazing thing is that I can still be able to view these per cards. Yes, this view might be a little bit blurry, but I would want you to bear with me. Now, if you look over here, we have one card here, which is the overdue order card. Now, with this one, if I click on these cards for overdue orders, I will be able to see a list of the work orders that were released. They were supposed to be completed within a particular time frame, which you had already set when you were creating the work order, but they were not completed. So the screen would display the number of days that the work orders are overdue for. Now, if you look at this work order was created for bearing inspection, and you can see that it's not a bit clear, but I think this is 85 days overdue, if I'm not mistaken. But at the right hand side, you can see that the system tells you how many days overdue these particular work orders are. Now, looking at the traditional method that we normally do, the normal method that we do, where we have to move these work orders to Excel, for you to be able to know how many days it is due, you'd obviously have to do a little bit of maths, right? Or if you're moving to Excel, you might create a sort of formula on the Excel field, which normally we even used to do. So we would have to put a formula to say maybe basic finish date minus the basic start, just to get how many number of days it is overdue. But the system is automatically giving you a calculation, so the planner can go into the orders. You can actually click on this order, it will take you to the order, view the order for you, and get the operations list view, so that you can see informations like the work centers and all of that, or maybe the time confirmations that have been confirmed from this time. So you can basically do all of this all your analysis on the system without needing to export to Excel. Another card again that I can see here is the notifications for screening. Now, most times when we create notifications, we forget to complete notifications, so they become outstanding on the system. Now, for those others notifications that are outstanding, they fall under this card. Now, if the planner clicks on this card, it will display the notifications that were created for so and so period of time, but they were not put in process. Two things: they were not put in process and they were not assigned to a work order. So when you click on this order, it displays all of those outstanding notifications. Now, the reason why you would want to do that as a maintenance planner is really to analyze, to know which of them have to be closed or which of them have to be open. Now, looking at the traditional way that we normally do that, except for maybe having like a custom report, but by standard, if you want to see the notifications, you would have to go through notifications lists. To get the list, the same thing, you still have to move it to Excel, which sometimes can be very, very overwhelming. So this gives you a bird's eye view of the notifications that are still standing. And your maintenance planners can still go further to investigate these notifications, put them in process if they have to, assign a work order to them if they have to, or completely close these notifications if they have to. And I think I can also see another card, this one. So these cards, order for planning. Now for these cards, these are orders that are not yet released, so they're in the planning phase but they are not released yet. So when the maintenance planner clicks on this, he can be able to see those work orders that are not released. If he clicks on this, he can still be able to have it navigates him to a list of those orders, a complete list of those orders, right? And from there, he can now know which of them he has to release or which of them he has to close. You can see how beautiful this is, and it's, to me personally, it would help any maintenance planner to have control of the system. I feel like it helps you to have control of the system, because normally having to download all of these order lists, going from one field to another, it can be very overwhelming, and you would not be able to completely plan because you can't really see detailed information about that order unless you take that work order back into the SAP system. Because even if you export those orders from the SAP system to Excel, you still have to take that work order number back to change order again for you to even see the content of it. But here we can navigate into different applications just on one field without needing to take a work order from Excel that you've exported, taking it back to change order, having to open up a purchase order or purchase requisition to navigate you back to a purchase page to be able to see the status of your material. So this is really a wonderful application. If you would really want to know more, you can still do some more learnings to what this means in details.